All right, welcome back to the Roundtable Ravens podcast. This is episode number 34. We have a lot to get into here. Training camp is on and rolling. Preseason games are this weekend. We will be covering all of that next episode, but instead we're going to be talking a whole lot about some pretty scary situations for the Ravens right now. The Ravens had two really big injury scares over the last weekend and week. Um, Wide receiver Zay Flowers collided with safety Jalen Hawkins and was on the ground for quite a bit. It looked to be pretty serious. He got up with the assistance of trainers and limped off the field. Come to find out, he had a quad contusion and only missed a couple of days of practice. Nothing serious there. They avoided that situation completely. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been something season ending, yada, yada, and so on and so forth. And then just yesterday on Tuesday, I believe it was, or was it Monday? Either way, it doesn't matter. Cornerback Nate Wiggins also suffered an injury of his own, which was way worse looking. He got tangled up with Jacoby Lane, fell to the ground, and was on the ground for a lot longer than Zay Flowers was. He had to be assisted off the field or assisted up. He had his arms around the trainers, and then he was put on a cart and carted off the field. It is never a good sign when a player is carted off the field, but the good news there is he reportedly also avoided a serious injury. No ligament damage, no nothing. It was to his left leg, knee. Obviously, that could have been a situation, torn ACL, whatever, Achilles, whoever, whatever may happen. But Nate Wiggins is now out. He is not at practice today. I'm sure Jesse Minter is going to speak to everybody and offering up an update whether or not he's going to be making it back weeks, days, whatever the case may be. But all in all, good news on the injury front. Just very scary for two players that are key players for the Ravens in 2026, especially Nate Wiggins having undergone off-season groin surgery to correct an issue that he said plagued him since his high school days. He said he's been feeling 100% healthy, ready to go, and now he suffered this leg injury. We don't know exactly what it is. It could be like a sprain, whatever. Jesse Minter has not said what it is just yet. All he said when he was asked if he's going to be out, if Wiggins is going to be out weeks or months or whatever, weeks or days, he said, I really don't know. Again, that update probably will come out later today, possibly. But if not, we'll definitely talk about it next week. But for right now, Nate Wiggins is out at practice. Zay Flowers is back. Nate Wiggins is out.
Two people you really don't want to hear
No.
in those kind of conversations. They're so key. Like Zay Flowers, if he goes down, we're really excited about the two new wide receiver prospects, but like you need Zay Flowers in the room for them to kind of rally behind him. But he needs to be there. I mean, it's really positive news that he's back. Seems like he's going to be okay. Obviously, he's just signed that massive contract, so that's really not the first thing that you want to have happen right after doing that. But yeah, he's back at practice, and so it seems all good to go. He's a tough guy, really good at getting back on the field and just getting to it. As for Nate, that's obviously a little bit more concerning. Doesn't seem like there's much of a update there or anything like positive really to kind of report on. I'm hoping, that it is just as not as what they're saying, not as serious, maybe maximum couple weeks of the regular season. But even still, it's just not really the way that you want to start your season. And it's not something that you want to head into the season with, potentially make worse, potentially roll over to the next season. So I really hope they take care of that and everything's all good.
Yeah, some other additional real quick injury tidbits as well. Good news, bad news. Skylar Thompson's now on injured reserve as well. They just signed Austin Reed, who was formerly of the Bears practice squad, and he also set the UFL record for 21 touchdowns with the Houston Gamblers this year. Also, Calais Campbell, John Jenkins, and Travis Jones are now back into the fold. Travis Jones passed his physical. He's all good. John Jenkins and Calais Campbell rejoined 11-on-11 work. So everything seems to be kind of going the right way, but now Nate Wiggins is like the biggest concern.
Yeah, I mean, it's positive at least to hear that about Travis Jones as well. We were obviously really excited to see him back this year. Obviously, Teddy Buchanan's still MIA, and we'll talk about that eventually later, I think. But yeah, it's just they're just not they're the people. Not that anyone it's good for anyone to get injured, but like those names have been concerning.
Mm-hmm. The good news is that Zay Flowers is back in practice, so that's kind of a breath of fresh air there. In terms of Wiggins, yeah, that one's a little scary. Like you said, James, whenever you're carted off, that's never a good sign. And the latest update was that he did avoid something significant. Hopefully that does remain to be the case. If not, yeah, that's going to be a big hit to the cornerback room. Jesse Minter did express, you know, he did express confidence in the other cornerbacks, kind of, and the younger ones too, like Tampa, who else, and Chandler Rivers as well, who they just drafted this year too. So, but at the same time, you don't want to rely on those guys if worse comes to worse. I mean, you don't want to rely on those guys snap to snap, series to series, week to week, if worse comes to worse. But hopefully that's avoided. You know, we've all seen like the growth that Wiggins has gone through the past 2 years, and the fact that he is finally healthy, that as he expressed a week or two ago, that's a good sign. And then this happens. That's obviously that you don't want that to happen, but hopefully he gets the proper amount of time of rest, and he is ready for week one of the season. Hopefully early week one of the season. And hopefully it's nothing more than that. So right now we're just kind of on a wait and see basis. Clearly he's not going to play throughout the preseason. I don't think that was a plan anyway. He is one of their top corners. Or he's probably the top corner. Just said.
Marlon
I was like,
Humphrey's
whoa,
got
wait a
some
minute.
words to say to you.
We'll talk about him in a bit, but yeah, I get what he's saying. I get what he's saying.
No, yeah, he's the next guy. He's been really a breakout guy the last couple of years. So
Yeah. So I mean, hopefully, you know, he's at least ready for week one. If he could get in a couple practices before that, then you know that'll be a great sign.
Yeah, I mean, this just kind of leads into the next point anyway, so we'll get to it. Like you said, Jesse Minter is a brand new head coach, and he's going to do things that he sees fit in terms of preseason action. He already said that he kind of like scoffed or laughed at the idea of Lamar Jackson playing in week one preseason. And then he just said that established players were probably not going to play, whatever that may mean, whether it's like the longtime veterans, as we say, the dinosaurs of the team, or whoever they are, the established players. But we would imagine that like any like 3-year and above veteran would probably not be playing, or 4-year veteran. So we probably wouldn't even see Nate Wiggins anyway, even though he's a younger player. I think he is one of those established players. So, you know, that kind of leads into that. Lamar Jackson's not going to play. I would imagine Calais Campbell won't play. I think it's going to be the time to see these young players. And like you had just brought up with Minter kind of hyping up the cornerback room, you are going to get to see a little bit more TJ Tampa, Keon Martin, and as well as Chandler Rivers, which, you know, Keon Martin has been one of the standouts in camp thus far. So if he can continue being consistent and showing what he can do in preseason, he might leap up that depth chart anyway. You know what I mean? So it also gives you, it's a double-edged sword. It sucks because, like, you know, you potentially lose Wiggins for however long it may be, but then you get to see what these young players can do. And we know Chandler Rivers is a lot of excitement behind him too. But when it comes to preseason action, we're probably not going to see the starters until week 3. And even then it'll probably only be one series. That's like the usual case for most head coaches. They don't play their starters. Either they'll play the starters for one half of the third game, one quarter, one series. It really just depends. I don't know how Minter's really going to like do his version of it. I would say that probably they shouldn't do anything more than a series, because like, why would you really need to? But there are a lot of players that are like new, so maybe they might need a little bit more time on the field to kind of like gel and whatnot. But I don't see them really playing the starters more than a quarter for sure when week 3 preseason rolls around. But I don't think we're going to see Lamar until then.
Yeah, I've been kind of back and forth about this over the last few years because in the Harbaugh era, the Ravens were very slow starters. They were getting their feet back. You know, it just the first 3 weeks were always, you felt that a little bit of like rust. And so I always wondered if maybe it would have been a positive thing for those starters to have just a couple more goes in preseason just to get their bodies used to being back in that. Like, it's a normal thing, you know, every team deals with it in their own way. And I think Patrick Mahomes plays a few preseason games sometimes, or, you know, a little bit more in preseason to kind of get back to it. So I don't know. obviously the smartest thing to do, because the last thing you want is Lamar Jackson going down in preseason, and then that's just, Jesse Minter, first year head coach. It's not going to look good on the resume, is it? Getting your star quarterback out in preseason. So I understand it. I understand like the logical of it, but I do wonder if in this new system they would benefit from just having a few goes on, for just seeing. I don't know. There's a pros and cons of both sides of it. Of like, there's the worst could absolutely happen, but I just think, with a new system, a new team, I would like to see maybe a little bit more of the starters, getting up there. People I'm really excited to see, at least hoping that I get to see a little bit of, a Zion Young and Jacoby Lane. I really want to see how they fit. There are always some breakout guys and some unexpected guys that come out of preseason. I remember Isaiah Likely having a really standout preseason after being drafted in the 4th or 5th round. I can't remember which one. Same for Keaton Mitchell, who went undrafted. Like, he had amazing preseason breakout things. I'm always really excited to see these guys who just, are flying under the radar and just come out of nowhere. Teddy Buchanan, again, same thing. No one really was thinking too much about him. Then look at the kind of season he had. So I always love a preseason game to see these younger guys get their teeth into it. I wonder if we'll see a bit of Ioane, maybe not, first round pick. Maybe they want to save that, make sure that he's safe and ready to go. But yeah, I'm this year. I'm seeing the benefits of leaving those starters off the field, but do wonder if they could benefit just from a couple of
Sure.
a considerable amount of game time just to get into it.
This is definitely a conversation for our other pod, but I'll just kind of mimic what Jeff Hafley said about the Dolphins starters, in that they're a young team, so he wants to see them out there. But I'm also of the mind that, like, this is a long 17 game season, and then on top of that, like, if you're a playoff contender, you're playing well into January, and so it's a long season to stay healthy and keep going. So I don't really agree with players being played all throughout preseason, but
no, not for full games, just a couple of downs, few series, getting into it a little bit more.
I think they should treat it like this. You should do one series in the first preseason game, double that in the second, and then not double, or just go like 3 in the third, or one quarter. Ramp yourself up so that way when week 1 rolls around, you already have that live game setting kind of dialed in there. And also, like, it does give head coaches and coaching staff more of an evaluation of the starters anyway, because like you don't really get to see them much if they're not played in preseason until week 1. And then what happens if there's some preseason standout, like you just said, that should be the one starting anyway. So, I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. I don't really have like I don't sway one way or the other. I just don't think that starters should be like fully playing every single preseason game, because injuries and health and all of that. But I think they should have some sort of 1 series, 2 series, 3 series, and then just call it.
Yeah, I think obviously every team has a different approach. Every team, listens to, I don't know, different types of doctors and whatnot, and say like recovery, body time and whatnot. The Ravens, I mean, Jackson hasn't played a preseason game since 2021. But that was with the former regime. We'll see how Jesse Minter and Declan Doyle kind of handle him and the other starters as well. And also too, like what Peter Schrager said, some teams kind of take the joint practices a little bit more serious than the preseason games. Obviously, like right now, there's a couple going on. It's been kind of not a trend, but it's been going on this week. And we've seen obviously a ton of fights already in that case. But that kind of seems to have shifted in a way where that has happened. But yeah, we'll see the type of approach that the Ravens take in terms of like playing your starters. I mean, I do certainly see the benefit, and I certainly see the benefit of not playing them as well. But at the same time, you don't want them to be rusty. In football, it's a little different. You need kind of like that first hit to get going. Also, too, like you said, the Ravens have been slow in recent years, so maybe this is a year that maybe Minter knows that. Maybe he's like, okay. You start to ramp that up. Maybe we'll see Lamar in 1 series in the second game, and then maybe we'll see him for a quarter in the final preseason game. So it's going to be really interesting to see. And in terms of getting of other players getting that opportunity, I personally love that too, because every single year there's always a late round guy or there's always an undrafted guy who just pops out and becomes a regular guy in the rotation, no matter what the position is. So those are the types of things I like to see. Those are the types of things I like to root for as well. And I'm sure there's going to be one or two players at least from the Ravens who are going to stand out and possibly play a big role in 2026.
Yeah. And preseason, again, is the last time you get to evaluate your roster anyway, because then you have to make the tough decision of cutting down from 90 to 53. And who knows, if you cut the wrong person, then they go and sign with another team and they ball out. So that's what I mean. Like, it's kind of, it sucks because you never know. But I mean, not you never know. Coaching staff obviously does their homework, but still. But one player that you just briefly mentioned, Billy, that we know has been balling out and continues to ball out, that's probably going to get a lot more action in preseason, is, again, wide receiver Jacoby Lane. He also just apparently trucked TJ Tampa to the ground in a one-on-one period and got another deep touchdown from Tyler Huntley. Jacoby Lane seems to be the real deal. I will admit that I was wrong, and Elijah Surratt has gone a little bit quiet on me. That's not to say that he's not going to get his opportunity, but Jacoby Lane is making headlines everywhere. He is a big fan of Michael Thomas, and he's drawn comparisons. Declan Doyle said that he reminds him of Michael Thomas. Obviously, Michael Thomas in his heyday was one of the best receivers in the NFL. He kind of like fell off a cliff there, but Michael Thomas is still Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas shouted out Jacoby Lane on one of his highlight reel plays, and he's like, yeah, you can't guard him. His can't guard Jack comes from can't guard Mike. And then again, Jacoby Lane, and being very humble, talking about how he's just there to learn and do what he needs to do for the team, and just being, as you've said it multiple times, Billy, just being a Raven. Said he's very appreciative of the comparisons, talked up a Michael Thomas again, and then Michael Thomas responded yet again and said, you are well on your way. Keep doing what you're doing. Obviously, getting a glaring endorsement from a player like Michael Thomas is probably going to do a lot of good things for Jacoby Lane's confidence as a player, especially if that's his hero. That's awesome to see. Maybe they'll get Michael Thomas out of practice. I don't know. Maybe that's just a far-fetched idea. That being said, is he going to be wide receiver 3? Is this the guy? Are we going to see week 1? Well, the first unofficial depth chart hasn't come out yet either, but when that comes out, are we going to see Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Jacoby Lane?
I'm saying he might even go up to wide receiver 2 this season. I think he's going to prove
okay,
himself.
Not this season's fine. I thought you meant like week 1. I'm like, oh, really? Oh.
No. By the end of this season, who's behind him? Bateman, we've been speaking about his future with the team, not because of his talent or his skill set, just because he might want to go somewhere else next year. He might want a bigger opportunity on a different team. And I've been excited about Jacoby Lane. I said it. I know it's not week 1 yet. I know he's not played a down in the NFL technically yet, but I'm just going to say I knew he was a Raven from day 1. And I'm going to continue to say that I knew he was a Raven from day 1. And he keeps showing it, just this humility, just this energy, just this fun. And I think alongside Zay, like, Zay is a nightmare to have to play against. He's a problem for defenses. And then if on the other side, you've got Jacoby, like it's just going to be a problem for defenses. And having those two, and then having Lamar and Derrick Henry, it's looking good in Declan Doyle's offense right now. And I think that he is going to be a perfect addition to it. I'm still rooting for Rashad Bateman to come out and get the opportunities that he's not really been given so far. So I'm hoping that, he can do that, especially with, I know Likely was a tight end, but he was one of Lamar's favorite targets. With that reliable pair of hands gone, Rashad Bateman is a reliable pair of hands. So we might see, him getting a little bit more. But yeah, I love to see this from Jacoby. I love to see him, really just happy to learn and happy to be there. And I hope that translates onto the field too.
Yeah, like I said a couple weeks ago, I think this Jacoby Lane is the type of guy who could have been wide receiver 1 anywhere in the country when he was in college, and he's showing his ability now. Yeah, he hasn't played a down in the NFL yet, but things are looking up. I think this is all positive. I know there's people out there saying, well, we'll see what he does. Well, right now he's he's balling out. He's balling out. Things are looking well, and I couldn't agree with Billy more. I think by the end of the year, I think wide receiver 2 is well within reach. Yeah, this is just a guy who has a ton of tools that really complement the Ravens offense. A ton of tools that could have him thrive under Declan Doyle's offense. And there's no, I mean, like that comparison to Thomas, it's really no surprise at all. He entered the draft, he entered the combine, kind of being compared to Thomas in a way, like, and Doyle too. He knows that better than anybody. He was with New Orleans the year that Michael Thomas won Offensive Player of the Year. So this is a guy who saw it firsthand. This is a guy who's seen Jacoby Lane just completely ball out in his offense, and I don't think that's by surprise at all. Yeah, this guy has all the tools to be really, really good, and I'm just really excited to see how things are gonna pan out in his first year. And also too, it's weird. Like he's such a, like, in terms of being a pass catcher and a wide receiver, he appears to be so elite at it. The ego's not there. I don't know if that has to do with like him being a rookie or whatnot, but he's so humble. He's really like a big kid in a way. Yeah. And I just hope that doesn't really go away, right? And he starts to be like this egotistical type of guy. I mean, I guess it's part of the wide receiver kind of, it's kind of like a thing that they have to have, I guess. But hopefully it doesn't end up being the case, but that's totally different. But just in terms of how he's going to perform and how much time it's going to take him to be that wide receiver too, I think it's really only a matter of time, really.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think you're right, because I think it's just like the recent, wide receivers like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Those guys have that like arrogance to them, and Jacoby Lane doesn't. Obviously, he's still not a wide receiver 1. We don't know what he can truly do, but if he starts making highlight reel plays every game this season and becomes the next like Puka Nacua, if you will, hopefully, his ego doesn't just go shooting through the roof and then he becomes that. But, like you said, he's a big kid, and it's been great to hear him talk about and his humility. And he's very similar to another big kid on the Ravens team, which is Marlon Humphrey, as we know. Honestly, like I was a little worried about Marlon Humphrey because of his 2025 season. But again, like as we've said, that's not really the benchmark that you can judge the Ravens on. It was an off year. We know it. But I think it's really important. Marlon Humphrey was talking about his career thus far. He said that he's definitely going to be moving to safety. He's not going to do that anytime soon. As he said, he's still rocking. But I think one of the most important changes that he's made this offseason is not practicing every day, because he is a veteran in this league. He's been around for a long time. And he basically said that he had to let that go. He had to basically start listening to his coaches, listening to the coaching staff, and using all of the things that the Ravens have at their disposal to make sure that he does not let his pride get in the way. Obviously, he's a Raven through and through, and he's trying to show everybody, like, you got to show up, which is totally fine. But if you're a 9-year veteran, you don't have to be there every day. Like, you need rest days because of that reason. Like, you cannot be there every day. And I think that's probably why he struggled a little bit more in 2025. It was already a down year, but he was dealing with whatever, like, ailments or whatever that was, amplified by the fact that he was literally practicing every day when you don't need to do that. So I think that's really important. I don't know if that's him listening to Jesse Minter or Anthony Weaver or whoever's telling him to slow the hell down, but he needs to slow the hell down so that way he can be as good as he's been in past years through this entire 2026 season. And he's been impressing Jesse Minter left and right. Minter has said nothing but great things about Marlon Humphrey. Not that we already didn't know that about Marlon Humphrey, but now that Jesse Minter is back, seeing him like as a head coach, there could be a breakout year coming for him. Another breakout year.
Another. And
a long list. Yeah.
Career.
Yeah. A resurgence, if you will, because 2025 was a weird year.
Yeah, I hear it. I think that, there is always something about, just having that defensive-minded head coach now, someone who's really looking to unlock something in you that you haven't done in your career. Yeah. Marlon's been showing up every year. He's been in the Harbor regime for his entire career. This might just be a little energy boost. And I think it shows a sign of maturity on his part to like listen to the head coaches and be like, all right, I'm happy to take a step back and trust that what's best. And he is the little wind up merchant on the team. He loves to run around annoying everybody. And I think that he has still got that personality in him, but he is just maturing as a player. I think, knowing what works for him. I think again, last year for everybody was just a down year. I think the year before he actually had some really great like shining moments. He just seemed to get back a little bit of what he had in the past. And I think we've seen since Mike McDonald left Baltimore, the defense has kind of just been slowly not like not a bad regime, but like it's been declining, so that nothing's been as good as like the 2023, I think it was, or 2024 defense. So for him to kind of get a second chance of that, show what he's got, maybe, Anthony Weaver and Jesse Minter are going to find something that he's not been able to do yet, and that's just going to give him another boost. But yeah, I'm really rooting for him this year. I love him. I get really frustrated when people say that he's taking a step back or he's not as good as he once was. I just don't think he's had the opportunity to be the last couple of years, and I think that we're going to see it again.
I think a new regime always helps, especially if you're under an old one for, what was it, 9 years? That's a long time in the NFL. Mm-hmm. That's a long time. So I think it's a breath of fresh air. I think it's something that was necessary, obviously not only for Humphrey but for the entire Ravens organization. And yeah, he should get back to maybe all pro-ish is a little bit too much, but not being ranked, I think he was ranked like 104 out of 155 according to PFF on like coverage in terms of like cornerbacks. Not that level, of course, but maybe somewhere in the middle of the pack or maybe the top half of that. I think that's definitely doable under Jesse Minter. But yeah, I think hearing him talk and hearing what he said, I love how he's grown and he's admitted that he was stubborn and not taking those days off, like you mentioned earlier, James. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's just part of being like a macho man, like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna take any days off or whatever. But when you're in the league for that long, you kind of need to listen to your body. You need to listen to other people who kind of are the specialists in that department. So knowing that he's finally taking those right steps, knowing that he's finally listening, that could go a long way for not only himself, but for the Ravens defense and ultimately the entire team.
Yeah. And I mean, this is a widespread thing with veterans anyway. Like multiple coaches have to say we have to like hold them back from themselves because they just want to be out there, which is understandable. You want to set the tone. You want the young guys in the building to know this is how you play as a Raven, as a Dolphin, as a Chief, whatever the case may be. But you run the risk of an injury. You have to make sure that you're taking those rest days to. It's a longevity thing. It's staying healthy, because you're needed on the field through 17 games plus, and this leads into our final topic here is, the injury thing can come at any time to any unit and really deplete it. And right now, the Ravens linebacker core is kind of hurting a little bit, as Billy mentioned earlier, in something that we talked about previous episodes before. Teddy Buchanan is still MIA. He's still on the PUP list, which was weird because Jesse Minter, as we've stated on this pod, said that he was further along than Matabuke. Matabuke is back. He's not doing team drills yet, but he's still at practice off the PUP list. Teddy Buchanan is not. This is concerning because there's only a few more weeks left until the start of the regular season, or a little under a month, and he needs to be out there. That's not to say that he won't be, but it's getting a little concerning right now. And they went and signed Jamon Johnson. They had multiple linebackers in on tryouts, and they ended up signing him. Obviously, this is like more so a depth signing as opposed to it being a starter, but it's still a concern. I forgot Carlos is also hurt. Hold on, totally forgot his name. Anyway, yeah, Carl Jones, my bad. Carl Jones has missed multiple days of practice too, and he's also a depth piece in that linebacker room. So now the depth is a little concerning. That's why they brought in Johnson. He's probably going to be there for preseason and all that stuff to make sure they even have anybody out there in the linebacker core to play the games. And that's not saying that it's all completely depleted, but you still don't have Buchanan back, and now things are looking a little grim.
Yeah, I think Jesse Minter said yesterday that he's not ruling out Teddy being back for the season opener. He said the next week or two, I think he'll be making some real progress. We'll start to look out there and have all the guys that might be available on September 13th. So, I mean, that doesn't say definitively anything. It's kind of just, doing what most head coaches do, just kind of dancing around the subject. But he says that he's, done really well off the injury, and they're really just kind of looking to not put him back in a situation before he's ready to be back, which is totally fair and completely the right way to play this. But I think everyone's rooting for Teddy Buchanan to come back just because he was so exciting and dynamic last year. But it is the right thing to do, just keeping him off. But I agree with you. I think that the depth situation is not encouraging, and it would be a real shame for him to not really come back and be able to finish what he started last year, which I'm sure he will at some point, whether it's week 1, 5, 10, whatever it is. I'm sure he'll be back at some point. But it was a situation last year. It doesn't seem like much has improved. I mean, obviously, Trey Hendrickson's in the room now. Mike Green can kind of come back and have the season that I think he was supposed to have last year. But yeah, it's not great. They wouldn't have signed Jamon Johnson if it was all fine. So I think that they're covering all bases there.
Yeah, I mean, you still got like Trenton Simpson, who was also impressing in camp.
Great.
So he's going to step up obviously and be there and take over the spot. I think he's like the direct backup to Teddy Buchanan. But like you just said, you want Buchanan out on the field because he was fantastic in his rookie year. But it's an ACL tear, and you never know. Like those usually take about a year, and he tore it in December. So I mean, the fact that he was already working his way back is impressive. But as you said, now is not the time to rush him back. Obviously, we want him out there. You want to see what Buchanan can be again, but don't put him in a position where you're going to re-aggravate that injury in any shape or form, because then he's out for who knows how long.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, you would love to have Teddy out there. You'd love to have him dominating like he did last year, but I mean, there's really no risk in that. If he's going to re-aggravate it, or he's going to have to miss even more time if you were to rush him back. So I think when it always comes to major injuries, I think the slower approach is always better. Everyone's body's different, of course. I mean, we see how George Kittle's kind of doing with his it's Achilles, but still a major injury. You just don't you don't want to rush anybody back. And I think with the right approach, I think eventually he'll come back. Hopefully in the first half of the regular season.
Yeah. Again, injuries are commonplace. Unfortunately, it's just that's how football works. You don't want your guys to be injured long term, but if they're injured now, you would rather they be injured now and heal up completely to come back at the start of the regular season, as opposed to the middle of the end. Again, like we were talking about, it's longevity. This is a long season. Obviously, you don't want any player to get hurt, but if they're hurt, let them heal completely right now, which is probably what's going on with Buchanan, and then you can get him back for the rest of whatever time he may be back in the regular season. That's what they're doing with Matabuke. They said very, very blatantly that he's going to be working his way back, ramping up. He hasn't even done any team drills yet. He probably won't. He probably will still not be there at the start of the regular season, maybe like a quarter in. We don't really know until Minter says so. He has been working his butt off. We've seen him in training camp. He's looked good. But again, this is a serious injury. It's a neck injury. It's neck surgery. You can't rush that along. Same thing with ACL tears. Case in point, Nick Bosa of the San Francisco 49ers tore his ACL, and now he's out again because he got tendonitis in the same leg that he tore his ACL. So that's exactly what happens if you rush these guys back. Those things can happen. You could re-tear it. That's what happened to Deshaun Watson. All kinds of things can happen. So longevity, make sure you're not pushing guys farther along. Just, unfortunately, you have to be patient with certain players is what I'm saying. But thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back again next week to talk all about preseason action. It's going to be so exciting to see who's on the field, what they can do. Excited to see Elijah Surratt. Excited to see Jacoby Lane, Zion Young. All the young players should be out there on this Saturday, and we will talk all about that next week. Thank you guys so much for listening.